Stonehenge is one of the great cultural icons of the world, but it's also the scene of one of the biggest scientific conspiracies. Let me explain what I mean. The monument itself is said, according to all the tales we're told by the archaeologists, to have been built out of stones carried from two different locations, one location in West Wales, the smaller stones, and another location on the northern edge of Salisbury Plain. Both enterprises involving a huge amount of human effort. The stone settings are in the middle of a larger monument involving an embankment and a ditch and various post holes as well. This is a reconstruction of what Stonehenge is supposed to have looked like in its finished form, with a large setting of trilithons in the center, these large pillars with lintels on top, an outer stone circle, and various settings of smaller stones in the middle. But we don't know whether that stone setting ever was completed, because all the artistic impressions that we have show Stonehenge in a very ruinous state, rather similar to what we see today, with very many stones totally missing, and with the rest of the monument in a pretty tumble-down state as well. There are two sorts of stones. The big ones are the Sarsen stones, which are a local sort of sandstone found in various places on the edges of Salisbury Plain. And then the smaller stones, which are overshadowed by the Sarsens, are the Bluestones. They come in various shapes and sizes. Some of them are flattish, some of them are pillars, and some of them are rather irregular in shape. There are several conspiracies at work here. The first one involves the Sarsens, which are said to have been carried all the way from Overton Down on the northern edge of Salisbury Plain. We can see on this map the circles which show the locations of Sarsens today, but it's never actually been proved that the stones were carried from a long way away, and it's much more likely that they were collected up from the immediate neighbourhood. The Sarsens themselves are a pretty irregular collection of stones. A lot of them are misshapen and irregular, cracked and hollowed. This is the heel stone, which is not particularly carefully selected, and this one here is stone number 11, which is leaning at a crazy angle, but it's far too small to have ever been used in one of the lintel settings. And all of the early paintings that we have show large numbers of stones missing from Stonehenge. There's another conspiracy relating to the Bluestones. These are said to have been carried all the way from West Wales, from a place called Carnminy in the Preseli Mountains. And the story is that the stones were collected from there because they were deemed to be sacred in some way and carried all the way to Stonehenge, about 80 of them or so. And this map shows the various routes that have been proposed over the years for the Neolithic tribesmen who were responsible for collecting these stones and delivering them to Stonehenge. But they didn't actually all come from one place at all. They've come from at least 20 different locations. The main location in Preseli is a place called Carngoedog, which is shown in this picture. And it's also known now from recent geological work that some of the stones have come from the North Pembrokeshire coast, for example, quite close to Newport. And then there's another discovery that's been made in the last few years, that the altar stone, which is supposed to have come from Milford Haven, has actually come from the Brecon Beacons or from Carmarthenshire. A few years ago, in the year 2000, an attempt was made to carry one bluestone from the Preseli Hills all the way to Stonehenge. And these pictures show the enterprise underway, involving these two beautiful curraghs, which were supposed to carry the stone from Milford Haven across the Bristol Channel. Sadly, it ended up on the bottom of Milford Haven because they just couldn't make the craft stable enough to do the job, and the stone had to be rescued by the Royal Navy. There's another conspiracy relating to the suppression of evidence about what happened during the Ice Age. There's no doubt at all that most of the stones have come from West Wales, but it's now absolutely certain, in my view, that the stones were actually carried by glacial ice rather than by Neolithic tribesmen. This map shows the route that was followed by the glaciers on at least one occasion as it crossed Pembrokeshire, coming in from the Irish Sea, and then flowed up the Bristol Channel towards the Somerset levels and towards the edge of Salisbury Plain. This is a computer model showing that the ice probably did cover Salisbury Plain on at least one occasion during the Ice Age. And this is an impression of what the ice might have looked like at that time, with the ice coming in, covering the Somerset levels and pressing against the edges of Salisbury Plain. So let's return to the old ruin that we call Stonehenge. It's my belief that the human transport theory relating to both the Sarsen stones and the Bluestones has no evidence in support of it whatsoever. My belief is that the stones were all collected up in the immediate vicinity of the monument, and that's true of both the Sarsen stones and the Bluestones. The Bluestones were deposited somewhere to the west of Stonehenge by glacial ice, and they were collected from there. This new book called The Bluestone Enigma will describe for you the pros and the cons of the glacial and the human transport theory. And this website will give you more information as well. I'd like to thank Sibelian for the music for this little video, and thank you very much for watching.